Hey guys, today I'm going to be doing a video on the champion Jayce, and this is in the public beta server, so this is not in the actual servers where it's released. I'm just going to talk about skills and possible tactics and the ways to play him. But what I've seen before in previous games is that he is a melee and ranged character. But the thing is, his range, as when he transforms, I guess you could say, is really short. You can see he has no ultimate. It's just like a Nidalee where he transforms between two set of skills. And you see his range is 500, and the movement speed increases for a short amount of time and slowly decreases. So every time you press your R, you'll gain some movement speed, and that could be pretty good for running away. But the thing about Jayce is that he's more like a skill shot champion, and according to the shop, he's pretty much supposed to be built like a tank or I don't know, possibly a jungler because of what's in here, but I'm just gonna assume that he's supposed to be played as an AD carry, kind of like Darius maybe, because his skills are very similar to Darius, such as his Q, which is just, you know, jumping to them, and his W is an aura that pops out around him, which does damage over time, and his E knocks them back. So it's like a Lee Sin kick, except maybe a bit shorter. So the minions just spawn, and I'm just gonna show his skills while I just farm this mid lane. So I'm actually equipping the skin, which I think is called Full Metal Jayce. So you can see, I think after you transform, yeah. Right now I'm in range, right? So if I transform into the melee, my next attack deals additional 20 damage. So I'll watch. As you can see, it did an extra 20, and it makes that cool effect. His Q, you just jump on them, kind of, and his skill shot color is yellow, which is pretty cool. So that's Q, and it pretty much has the same kind of look as Wukong's Nimbus Strike. And I'm just gonna put a point in E to show you what it does. What it does is basically, okay, that wasn't a good example because I killed the minion, but it knocks them back. But the thing is, you gotta get behind them to knock them where you want them to end up toward your team. So watch. It knocks them back a really short distance, but that distance could be the difference between life and death. Especially after they wasted flash or something. Then you basically just pop that in their face and they get knocked back a bit, and possibly securing the kill for your team. So Jayce's W is called Lightning Field, and this skill is basically an AoE damage. It does AoE magic damage, and it does scale AFP. It is 1-for-1 ratio, but I don't think people are gonna play him as AP. So now I'm gonna go over his ranged form. So when he goes in his ranged form, he basically has increased range, and his skills completely turn different. As like his Q is Shock Blast. It basically shoots a skill shot and it detonates at the end of his path, like that. So it does scale with AD, and his attack animation is pretty fast. If you just want to get like that last hit, you know, you just like it's really fast. And Jayce's W in his range form is increasing. So it does.
I will light a path.
So his W increases his attack speed for the next 3 attacks. And I think they do additional damage according to what this says. So I'm just maxing his Q simply because it seems like it's his main skill and the main source of damage. So Jayce's E is acceleration gate, and this basically sets a gate, kind of like Karthus's wall, and if your allies walk through it, then they gain a temporary speed buff, which gets removed over a short amount of time. But if Jayce puts this wall and he shoots his Q, it will go a very long distance. So let me show you right now. It basically extends the range of his Q. Okay, that wasn't a good example. Okay, after this goes cooldown, I'll show you once again. But it's probably because I clicked the area that was right in front of me. But okay, so here's a wall. I'm just gonna click all the way over there. As you can see, the AoE does look bigger, and it's supposed to go a bit farther. So leveling up his R basically buffs the effect. So his R as range is transform Mercury Hammer, and if he turns into melee form, basically he gains 15 armor and magic resist, which is actually a lot considering it's free and it's a passive basically. And the next attack with his hammer deals additional magic damage. So it's like what I showed you earlier, it makes that cool effect, and basically it does magic damage. It does additional magic damage. So this is Jayce. As in terms of CC, he doesn't really have much at all, except his knockback. Oh yeah, no. His Q actually slows. It slows him by 40%, which is a lot, and for 2 seconds. So 2 seconds, it's pretty long. It's like a mundo slow. It's nearly impossible to get away from that. But luckily, you know, Jayce is not overpowered or anything. There is a pretty long cooldown for his Q. So it goes down 2 seconds each rank. But overall, I think it's still gonna be pretty long. So this classic combo would probably look something like pushing them back, Q maybe, or you can do vice versa. And it'll be like Darius, except he does the opposite. So let's see if this R works with his turret. So unfortunately it does not work on turrets, but oh no, that's not what his R does. His R in melee form, when he transforms into ranged, it reduces the enemy's armor and magic resist by 15% for 5 seconds. So let me just show. So you see his 3 and 4. This mage just got 2 and 3. So I mean, there's not much armor and magic resist to begin with in minions, but that's what it does, and I think you should max out. Let's see. You could max out his E, which does more damage. And well, it does 8% of the enemy's maximum health. And if you level this up, it does 11. So I think leveling this up is more stronger, and it's just pretty good. It's like a Lee Sin Q. Percentage of health does a lot of damage. So I'm just wondering if this E knocks things through walls. So as you can see, his W is just kind of like a useless skill in his melee form, but in his range, it does gains a burst of energy, increasing attack speed So, whoa, my attack speed turns to 2.5 for a few seconds. I guess until you shoot one, and then after that it will just reset the timer again. Wait, I think his Q does AoE damage. Let's see. Yeah, it does. Wow, that's pretty OP considering this. Well, 200 is not much, I suppose. But if it's AoE slow and damage, you know, that's... So...
I will light a path.
Okay, that was fail flash.
I'm always ready. Without fear.
So Jayce does have a special recall, kind of like Ezreal. When you start recalling, it says something, and much like Draven too.
Powering up.
So when you recall, he just sets his hammer right in front of him, and he basically just recalls that way. So as you can see in the shop, it recommends you to buy, you know, a Sheen, a Witsend. You know, all these items are basically tank. Most of them are supposed to make you tanky and a bit offensive. So it's like a Darius. If you build him like a Darius, it shouldn't be that bad. So I'm just gonna buy, you know, so you should probably, in laning phase, you should probably buy 2 Dorans, and then you should start building like lifesteal or something, like get a Vampiric, and then you should just start building. Well, I don't know what this build it's supposed to do, because Jayce seems really so much like a, you know, like an AD carry kind of character. He's not like one of those people that doesn't look like they're supposed to tank it. They could be a support, but he doesn't really feel like support.
Eyes on the horizon.
So I'm going to show another example of Jayce's W here. So I didn't know what this meant for in the beginning, but now I do. When you press W, it increases your attack speed to 2.5, which is the maximum, and that's what it meant. So, but the downfall is that it deals 70% of your current AD, which means it deals less damage, but more in the long run. So it looks something like this. See, that's a lot, but you know, it is good for finishing the killing blow, and it's just really good for poking too, I suppose. So his Q does slow for 2 seconds. So as you can see, Jayce is one of those champions that just have a huge amount of burst, kind of like Darius. He can just Q and EU and go right into his ranged form and just basically harass you.
Bring down the hammer.
So I think that Jayce would probably be played as more of a top laner kind of guy, simply because he has a pretty good amount of utility, that attack speed, and he gets to switch between ranged and melee attacks. So in a sense, he's sort of like a Nidalee and like a Lee Sin. He has so much amount of burst, but he also has a lot of upfront damage, such as his Q and his E.
Fully charged.
And so the more you level up your R, it basically buffs the damage of and the damage of the armor and magic resist reduction. So Jayce is a pretty nice champion. He has a lot in his kit. I mean, he could be played as probably a tank, AD carry, but I don't know about playing as AP simply because it's only one AP skill that he has. Yeah, so I don't think it's worth it to play AP. So his W does work on towers, as you might or might not have seen. So as you can see, that E extended the range ridiculously far, practically as far as the Nidalee Sphere, which is very far. So I'm just going to show what using W on a tower looks like.
Eyes on the horizon.
So as you can see, it does do that quick attack speed burst, and it does the percentage of damage too, just that it did 50 because, you know, the turret has a lot of armor. So this W seems really good for pushing turrets. So Jayce seems like a really good champion. He does attack kind of weird. I'm not sure if he's gonna be like the new Trindamir or anything in terms of just getting people's faces, or maybe he'd just be like Darius.
Bring down the hammer.
Oh, so yes, his E. So his E does a maximum percentage of damage. So that's probably to prevent you from doing huge amounts of damage to Baron, because 70% of Baron's health is more than 1k, because Baron has around like 14k or something like that. So another thing I would like to point out is that you could use his Q to just basically get away if you're trying to run from enemies. So if you're like just trying to run, you can just like Q onto a nearby minion, and that'll give you some more range.
Your team has destroyed an inhibitor.
And you know, even though his range attack is 500, you know, it's better than nothing, considering, you know, people like Urgot have around like, I think it was like 525 range. So does Vlad. Vlad has around that kind of range too. But, you know, it's better than melee. I mean, it's... Oh, another thing I would like to point out is that his E shows vision, so... And so does his Q. So you put his E like right here, it shows vision, so does his Q. No, it shows it for maybe like 2 seconds, or maybe 1.5. But... It's better than face check your bush. It's like Karthus. You know, it's better to Q than just face check it yourself. Simply because it's not worth taking a risk to just check if someone's in there. So Jayce does have a lot of utility, and he has his Q to run away from enemies, you know, just Q onto a nearby minion, and he can just transform into his range form to throw out his E and just run faster.
Never look back.
So his E, it does give a higher movement speed buff each rank, so it's not like a 1 movement speed buff or anything, but it's something that's actually worth leveling up more than once.
Face the future.
So, you know, Jayce is probably gonna be like a mix between like a Darius and maybe like a Vayne or something. I mean, he does have a lot of ways to escape, considering he has the movement speed boost and his Q to run, and not to mention his E can just knock enemies away in case you get ganked or something.
Your team has destroyed a
And
turret.
overall, he just looks pretty epic to play.
Bring down the hammer.
So as you can see, you can take down towers really easily just by switching your skills around.
Your team has destroyed a turret.
You know, Jayce can probably farm really well and would probably be more like a top laner. So yeah, Jayce is a really interesting champion, and if you like those champions that can just poke and do lots of burst, then Jayce is probably the right champion for you. So, hope you like my preview of Jayce.
Destroyed a turret.
Yeah, have a good day.